Okay. Welcome everybody. My name's Murray Fife, and I'm a TSP at Microsoft. And what that really means is I do all the demos and all the cool stuff, and then let all the consultants do all the hard work. But as a result, I work a lot with Dynamics 365. How many people are using Dynamics 365 right now? Rock on, yay! So. In this presentation, I was asked to give this and sort of give tips and tricks for all of the things that you can do within Dynamics 365, and there's so many things out there that we can work through. So I compiled a list of all the, let me see if this pops through, of all the tips that I could think of. So I've got 140. So we'll start with number 1 and then work our way through. No, actually, I pared this down to around about 17, and I'm trying to time myself to make sure that I can get through all these items. But there's a lot. I've always done sort of like these tips and tricks presentations, and they're really good because some of these things you may know, some things you may do all the time. Some of them you may not. Also, I've sort of broken them out. Some of them around the user interface, some of them around integration, some of them are a little bit more technical than others. So hopefully everyone should be happy. And if you don't like a tip, then don't mark me down on the evaluation just for that one tip. Bear with it and go through the rest of the tips. So, and I've worked it out that I'm going to have around about 10 minutes at the end. So we'll hold off on questions until the end so that we can get through these, because I've got a lot of content that I can show. And just a funny story, I had to fill out an evaluation on my presentation, and one of the questions was how many demos are you going to do? And I just said more than you can shake a stick at, because we're not doing 1 or 2 presentations, we're doing a lot. So the first thing that I'm going to go through, there's some user interface features that you may know about or you may have forgotten about, because there's one that was introduced right at the beginning that I think everyone just forgets about that we'll go through. And the first one that I'll talk about is the Dynamics homepage. How many people know about the Dynamics homepage? This is like the best thing ever. It doesn't really do much, really. But, and also I videotaped all of these, but I think that's cheating, so I'm going to show this live. But the homepage is like the easiest way to get into the application. And for example, if you look at my URL, then it's huge. It's cryptic. For a production system, usually it's a little bit easier. But if you're ever trying to get into the application, then just go to home.dynamics.com. And that's going to take you to the home page, and you're going to see all of the Dynamics 365 apps. So not only the operations side, but also the CRM, the sales side or the customer engagement side, and also Power Apps. So all of these are showing up here. And then the other thing that changed with the navigation that I really like is that you can access all of the, I like to call it the 365 suite, because it's not Dynamics 365 and it's not Office 365, it's all of the applications that Microsoft have. So directly from the user interface, the entire user interface, it's easy to swap over to Mail, to Power Apps, to Flow, to all of these other tools that really make the system so much better. And also the other thing that you can do is if you just click on the Dynamics, then it's going to take you back to the home page. But let's just swap back into Finance. So a really quick thing, but it's useful, especially for user adoption, because a lot of times people have icons on their desktops or shortcuts that they're trying to get into the system, and this just gets you there faster. So now, how many people know about the peek behind feature in the application? This feature was one of the things that was touted when AX7 first came out. One of the very first things from a usability standpoint is this peek behind feature. And one of the things with moving from like the 2012 client server to the web-based interface is you've got one sheet of glass that you're sort of looking at, and sometimes things overlay on that form. So there was a small feature that was added that, say for example, if I go into any one of my forms, and I'm just going into quotations, and say I want to create a new form. And this could be if you're an MRP, if you're in planning, you're going out and running a plan, or you're going out and creating a new product. Sometimes there's information behind here that you want to see. And if you just click on it, it hides it. And, oh, sorry. Yeah, remind me. So then if you just click on it, it hides it. So any of these panels that show up, you can always see what's behind it. Now, the other, I haven't got this in my demo, but I've got a little bit of time. So if you just peel off a page, then that allows you to have multiple windows in there as well. So you've got this peek behind and then peel off function that really allows you to have multiple pages running within the system. Now, a really cool and useful feature is the mobile workspaces. How many people have played with the mobile workspaces? These are an inbuilt function that allows you to turn any form in the application into a mobile app, and also an offline mobile app. So that's huge. And we had a customer that they wanted to give access to Dynamics to remote users in Africa with limited cell signal and also spotty cell signal. So they couldn't really give, even though the web-based interface is very light, they can't guarantee that they had access to it, and this is the answer to it. And to show you how this works, if you're in Dynamics 365, you just click on the gear icon, and there's a mobile app option. When you click on that, that opens up the mobile app manager. Now, Dynamics comes pre-configured with a whole slew of different apps already. So there's a company directory, there's a requisitioning, there's expense management, there's timesheet entry, and a couple of other things that you can have access to. And all of these, let me show you, log in here. All of these show up on the handheld device. So this could be an iOS device, it could be an Android device, and it just opened up one of them. And what we're doing is we're converting those apps over. But why this is really powerful is this. Say, for example, there's something that you want to deliver out to the employees. So this could be an update form, or it could just be a browser. But let's just say that we want to go out and let's find products. So we want to create a list of our products that we've got on hand. So I'm just going and opening up the form. And while that's opening up, then I think I can, we'll wait for the form to pop up. Then we can tell the system that I want to go out and mobilize this for everyone to access. Should be popping up soon. There. So all I do here is I say, I want to create a new app or a mobile workspace. Call it Product Browser. And then I add a page here, and I'm going to call this Product List. And then I tell it that I want to add some fields. So notice here, now the form becomes it's lit up with a couple of options. So now I can just say, I want to select the item number, the product name, the product type, and I'm a little bit scared to add the product image, so we won't do that right now. It should work, but I'm not guaranteeing it. And then I've gone out and I'm going to finish this, I'm going to save it. So all I do is say, these are the fields that I want. Now, if I look down, I've got a product browser workspace here, and then if I click Publish, then this publishes it. So now if I return back to my tablet, all I need to do is refresh this, pull it down, and then if we look down at the bottom, we've got a product browser. And then I've got my product list that I created. And then all of the products that are in the system are now going to be available here on the handheld. Now, I think that is pretty darn cool. So now, and that works with any form. It's not, doesn't matter whether it's a custom form, custom fields, or anything like that. All it's doing is creating a surface for the mobile device that you can use any of these screens against. And also you can do a lot more. I haven't got time to, you could have a whole session on it where you can go down and you can have drill throughs, you can have subforms, you can have all of these other things. And also you can put code behind it to do some other clever things. But also if you're adding records, then all of this information is cached. So if you lose connectivity, it will keep all that information there so you can continue working. And then when you get connectivity, then it will push the information up or refresh the information. So there's a lot of sort of things around the mobile workspace that's really useful. So that if anyone just wants to build an app and look like a rock star, then that's the way to do it. And also if you know if you can use Visual Studio and create your own forms, then you can surface those as well. So there's a lot of options that are there for you. Now, the other item are task guides. And everyone's probably been beat over the head about task guides over and over. But task guides are really important and really useful. So how many people have seen task guides? Yeah. So some of you haven't. And a lot of the times when we show the task guides, it's sort of like a aha moment or a whoa moment, or if you're doing documentation or if you're trying to do user training, then you're going to say, oh, my life is so much easier with these things. Because what task guides are the new help format for the system. Now, if, for example, I wanted to run a help guide, a task guide, then all I do is I can go directly to the help, and I can tell it what do I want to search for, and I want to look for quotations. And this is going to go up to lifecycle services to all of the standard task guides and the ones that you've created, and show all of the different task guides. And it's going to bring up all of the help files or all of the instructions for me. Now, this in itself is helpful, but it's not the most helpful thing because a lot of the times you don't know where to click and what to point on. So as a user, a new user coming into the organization, then it's going to step them through what they need to do. So in this case, I need to create a quotation. So I need to say, I want to go to sales and marketing, quotations, and it's going to go to the screen. But now it says, now that you're in the form, click on the new button. And so that's fine. And then we're just following the ball. So we're going to say that I want to choose a prospect or I want to choose a customer. The important thing about this is a really good task guide because it's been fleshed out quite a bit. There's a lot of documentation sort of built into it. Now, these are the standard task guides, but let me stop this. And I've got a little bit of time. I wasn't going to go through the entire thing, so I've got a little bit of time because the other thing about the task guides is that there's a function called task recorder. And so everything that I showed you is what's delivered by Microsoft, but the task recorder is even more important because I can go out and say, I want to create a recording, product, and then all I need to do is to record this task is I go down here to the product information management and then click on the release products. And notice that the task guide itself is going to start tracking what I'm doing. So I can say I want to create a new product. And then this is going to be a product master. And the product dimension group is going to be color. And this is going to be a shirt. And I'll just leave it at that. So notice that it's tracking all of this. As you're going through and implementing the system, then documentation is really hard because it takes time. But you're always going to be going and doing this testing. So now if I go out and just stop this, Then I can save this to Lifecycle Services, or I'll just save this down to my desktop for now. And it creates this package with all the information associated with it. Let me save that to my desktop. But now the more important thing is that someone else can go out and they can say, I want to play a recording, and I want to open this one from my desktop and find it. Find my desktop. And that same task guide that we created now looks like all of the other task guides. So it's going to say, go to Product Information Management and the release products, and then move me through all of the steps. So now all of my documentation is now sort of live and really useful for the users to access. So what does everyone think of that? Yay, yay, ooh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't build it, so I can't take all the credit. So. But it's something that should be a staple part of your implementation. Now, so that's that. Now, one other item which is interesting. So this is sort of more like a little bit of a hack, but it's really useful because since Dynamics is a web-based application, then you've probably noticed the URL, and it sort of has a couple of parameters inside of it. And you can take advantage of that and do some really clever things with it. And so, as a couple of examples, let me go back to here. Let me go into the application. Say, for example, you wanted to create a kiosk application, or you want to embed Dynamics inside of another application. Then if you put the command limited nav equals true, then that takes you back into Dynamics. But what you'll see, there's no menu bar. All the navigation has been taken away from you. So if you have some other application that you want to just put part of it in, or if you want to have a kiosk where people can't go out necessarily and go and grab, move around in different organizations, then this is a really easy way to do. And now say if you wanted to, we can go out and Dynamics has a number of different languages. And you can go into the user account and you can change the language. But you can go out and change the language just by using an LNG command. So I usually convert to Spanish or Chinese or Arabic, but I thought it'd be a little bit more adventurous, and so we're going to convert Dynamics to Estonian. And I've just chosen the language code, and then everything's changed here. And I think, yeah, my Estonian's a little bit rusty right now. Usually I can sort of navigate around, but yeah, mental note, I won't do that on the demo again. Now there's one other one that as I was sort of researching what I was wanting to show, there's another feature which is a debug command. And this is really interesting because it doesn't look like anything's changed, except you've got this little icon up here with seconds. So what this does is this actually shows you how fast it's taking to refresh any of the screens. So as we're moving through, then it's showing you the form information, how long it's taken to do every one of the different functions. So if you want, you can maybe find bottlenecks in the screens or in the processes. So I just thought this was cool, so I thought I'd show it because it does stuff and it shows telemetry along the way. So let's just turn that off. So those are some of the UI features. We've got a lot more that we can talk about, but I want to sort of change gears a little bit and show some other things which are maybe even more useful for you. So let's go back to here, and the next item that we'll talk about is Office integration. And So everyone knows that within Dynamics you can go out and you can export out to Excel, and there are templates built in there. But that's just the starting point, because what you can do is you can create your own templates and you can do some clever things with them. So and also, I'll save the last one for not to spoil it in a second. So the first thing we can do is you can go out and create Office templates. Now, there's there's an easy way that you can do it where you can go out and there's a worksheet designer that allows you to go out and create documents. But you can also create them by hand, and also you can create them not only in Excel, but also in Word as well. So if we look at this, I'll go over here and we'll start off, and I've got Word here. And we've got this, the add-in for Word. So a lot of people show Excel, but they don't really show what you can do here within Word. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to design a new form. And the benefit of Word is that you can go and create a document, and then you can do, it's almost like a report, but it's a little bit more flexible. So say, for example, I wanted to go out and create a quotation. So I'm just going to go down here and find my quotation header. And then what that's going to do is it's going to show me, normally I expand it out in the web, but this is a little bit harder to see. But I'm going to say that I want to add in my sales quotation number. And you've got an option to add a label or a value. So I'm just going to add a label for the quotation. And then I'm going to add the field. So fields are like the header portion. Header or the footer or just something in general. But after I've done this, now what I can do is, because I added the header, then I can go out and add the quotation lines to this as well. Now when I add the quotation lines, then let me find some fields. I'll do this quickly. I can add the line amount, and then I'll add the line description. I've got a better example here. And it creates a table for me. So I've gone out and I've got this header and footer sort of process going here. Now if I go out and sort of do a Julia Childs or a Rachel Ray or any cooking show sort of analogy, then you expand that out. And what you can do is you can make these documents look really pretty. So you can, because it's not an SSRS report, you've got more control over it. You can add pictures, you can add logos, you can change the formatting. For this one, I cheated as well. I went out and I used one of the standard quotations in Word and then ripped out all of the mail merge functions and then put all of my fields in. So you can do that, or you could go out and do the same thing. Let me see if I've... And create a template for a quotation in Excel. Now, Excel is interesting because since it's Excel, then you can take advantage of all the Excel features and you can add charts and all of these other things. So this is pretty neat. But once you've done this, close that down. So I'm just going to save this, and just so that you can see that I don't have anything up my sleeves or super pre-prepared, then I'm just going to save this away. So this is part of it in the creation of the templates. Now that's part one of the process. The second one is that any templates that you create, you can add to the forms and make available to the users. So that it shows up in the Office integration. So say, for example, there's a really useful template or a worksheet that everyone uses, then don't file it away on a file share for people to go out and access. They can go out and access it directly from the system. Now, the way that you do that is, there's a couple of different areas, but the easiest place is to go into the Office integration and an area that's called document templates. So we've got this Word document, and all I say is I want to add in a new document here. And I'm just going to browse to that file, and that's an E, Office Templates, and then here's my quote, my Ignite quote. Now what it does is it knows what this is attached to. It knows that it's attached to the quotation record. So I'm just going to save it. Now what I can do is if I go back to my quotations and I choose any of these quotations, if I click on the drop-down list here, the Office integration, then we've got a template here, which is a Word template for this Ignite quote. And if I click on that, it's going to take all of the information that we've got inside of that individual quote, parse it out like a mail merge file, and then present it to us with all of the formatting that we've got. So this could be customer letters, it could be collection letters, it could be product specs, it could be job orders, it could be anything, because all you're doing is creating a document, formatting it, having all the placeholders, and then placing it in there. So it's a feature that's it's been partly in the product for a while, but now it's really working really well, and everything all lights up along the way. As you can see, for me, I've got all of these other worksheets, and some of these, the Excel worksheets, allow me to go out and do mass updates and have standardized forms, and I've used this to go out and update user accounts, because like when I get a demo system, then all of the email addresses are wrong, because I'm on a different domain. So I just go out and create a template for all the users, and then push it out, do a mass replace of all the email suffixes, and then publish it back in, and then all my work's done. So I can update like 200 or even more records probably in around about 2 or 3 minutes within the system, even with creating the template. So that's pretty neat. Now, there's one other sort of piece of Office integration, because we've talked about Word and Excel, but how many people do projects within the system? Anyone? Oh, so a lot of you are going to be pretty bored on this, but some of you may be really excited. Because with Dynamics 365, when it first came out, a feature was held back by development, not maliciously, but they were working on trying to work out how to do this, to go out and integrate Microsoft Project, the Windows project, into Office 365, because a lot of people like going out and developing projects inside a project and then updating the ERP system or updating Dynamics, rather than going into the project and updating it from there. So what you can do now is I can go out and I'll just choose one of these standard ones. So I've got the thing about Microsoft, oh, sorry, again, you should have told me. The thing about Project is that it's really easy to go out and create the projects and create the dependencies, because you can do it visually. Now, but there's now an add-in here that will link back. So let me just log in. So once you go out and create these projects, then I can just go out and say, I want to publish this back to Dynamics. Oops. Let's try that once more. Oh, it's trying to install something, so I don't want to do that. So, yeah. So let's go back to the video. No. What it does is, yeah, something squirrely went on there. But what we can do is, if we go to the project accounting, then I've got a couple of projects out here. And all of the work breakdown structures that you create will then be copied over so that you don't have to do all that work. So if I go and look at this new marketing plan that I've got, then from here, we'll wait for that, I can open up the work breakdown structure. And then in a second, the entire hierarchy is going to be shown to me inside of the project. Again, and then what you do is then you can manipulate it, and then you can take advantage of everything the project offers, which is the resource management, but you don't have to go out and change this. And if you want to make a change to the structure, then you can go into project and then adjust it there and then republish it back. So this becomes a sort of a bi-directional link too, because it goes out and grabs some of that information. Now, so that's some of the integration. So we've got Office, we've got Word, we've got Excel, and now Project. Now there's a couple of features which, one which a lot of people have been asking for because it was in 2012 and it's now available within 365. And then some other ones that have come out which I want to illustrate because they, if you look at them, you can't sort of work out what they're used for, but once you see sort of like the purpose, then they really become very powerful within the system. Now the first one is the vendor punch-out. Now, how many people use requisitions? Anyone? So hopefully after I show you this, then a lot more people will start extending out their purchasing and using requisitions. Because one of the things with requisitions that we can do, or that we want to do, is sometimes there's all these miscellaneous supplies. There's computers, there's office supplies. There could be anything from other vendors that you're working with that you have a relationship, and you want to allow the employees to go out and buy from them directly and then feed the information back into the system. That's what a punch-out is. So if I go down here and go into procurement, and I want to go out and I'm getting a new employee, so I want to give them a surface. And so I'm just going to create a new requisition. And this is new employee kit. And I'm just going to create this. So normally what you'd do is you'd go out and you'd say, I want a laptop, I want supplies on an office desk, all of these things. But there's an option down here, which is external catalogs. What I can do here is I could go out to whoever you have a partnership with, and I've got CDW here, and I'm going to open up their view in a browser. So what this is doing now is this is going to take me out to their website, and I've got a corporate account with them, so this helps me along the way. And then I'm going to say that I want to buy a computer, and I want to buy a tablet. So, and you know, what's that Apple thing there? I want to buy a Microsoft product because they're the best. And I'd like to pre-order the Surface Pro, although the Surface Book looks even cooler. But I'm going to say I want to get a Surface Pro, and I'm going to get the higher mid-range version. And notice it's going out, it's telling me how much this is, and I'm going to add it to my cart. So all of this research that a lot of people do, they're doing this, but then they sort of stop, and then there's nothing that you can do. Then you have to sort of pass through the information, manually enter it. But what I can do here is, after I go through my shopping process, then it's going to push this information back to Dynamics. So here's the line that I had from CDW with the quantity, with the description, with the price, with CDW's part code in there. And since it's a miscellaneous product, because we don't want to put all these part codes in there, I can just add it to my requisition. And that's going to take all of these items over and I'll place it in the requisition. Then we could go and shop elsewhere if we wanted to within the kit. It's now here with all of the correct pricing and all the correct information there as well. And then I can just submit this to workflow. So this punch out is for requisitioning, for ordering products, for making sure that you have the right price and that everything's sort of correct is really cool because you can go out to all of these different organizations really easily. So this is, that's the first. Let me submit this. It's being submitted now. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll show you, Now I'll show you two other features. Now, these aren't going to solve world hunger, but they're probably going to, if you use them, they can make your life a lot easier. And the first one is a data validation checklist. Now, these are really a new workspace within the system. So let me just submit my requisition. Hopefully that'll come by Friday. And then go back here. So there's a new workspace which is data validation. Now you can use this during your implementation and also after your implementation to go out and help with setup and help make sure that everything's working within the system or everything's done. So the way I see this is that if you're setting up a new organization or a new company, then this will tell you all of the steps that you should go through. So it's like a standard operating procedure, sort of, but for the system. But if we go out and let me go into the task. If we look at the task, then, sorry, I'll go back. So I've got all of these tasks here. Now, I've got all of these things that I need to do, which are going out and setting up the main accounts, going out and creating the customer records, creating the customer groups, and there's links here. Now, I've created this as a template, and this link, the task, actually goes out to the form that I need to do to perform the task. So in this case, it's taken me over to the main accounts. So imagine if you had a template with everything that you needed to do, and then, what's even better, you go out and assign it to people. So you go out and say that maybe TJ needs to do all of the business intelligence, or the validation of the products needs to be done by the operations or the product group. Then what happens is that all of the users log into this task list, and they can see all of the tasks that have been assigned to them, and then they just work on them. So it's a little mini project management tool in here. Now, say for example you're doing a new product introduction, then there's a lot of tasks that you need to do in order to make sure that the product is released out. It needs to go to quality, it needs to go to pricing, it needs to have this approved, it needs to have a couple of different things. Then that is a data validation checklist. Say, for example, you want to onboard a new customer, and it's a major customer. Maybe you need to do credit checks, you need to do background checks, you need to do Dunnings, you need to do all of these other things for that customer. Then again, that's a data validation checklist, and you just create the project, and then it assigns tasks to people within the system. So look at this, it's new. I think it may have only come out in the spring release, I think. But it's pretty interesting. It should pop up. It's pretty interesting as a feature. Now, also there's another item which is a business process. Now, this is you find this within the HR area, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily an HR function. And a business process is, again, it's sort of like the validation checklist, but it's more of a process for people to work through in order to do something. And the couple of examples that I've got here that I'll show you is, one is a financial close. So you have all of these predefined steps that you need to do, and certain people need to be assigned to it. And another example is going out and using it for an inventory close or an inventory cycle check and some of the other things as well. So for that, and don't, Just trying to find it. So for the business process, business processes, it has something that's a little bit different. I'll hop off here for a second. Because what you do is you set up a process, and then you say, when do I need to do it? So do I need to do this 10 days before, 20 days before, 30 days before this certain task needs to be performed? Or maybe I need to do it like 10 days after. Maybe I want to do an audit afterwards. So you go out and create these steps, and in this case, this is an HR audit. And then I've got another option here, which is an inventory close. And I've assigned it to different people, so they have different tasks that they need to perform. And then all I can do is I can say I want to do an HR audit. I can start the process, and I want to have this finished by October 31st. So that's gone out and created all of these tasks, assigned it to all of the people, and then backdated all of the tasks to make sure that they know when they need to perform these tasks. Again, any standard procedure that you're working through that you want to have control over can be managed through these business processes. So that's pretty neat. These are some sort of new features or features that you may not know about. So now, one of my most favorite features within, all of these are my favorite features, but this is one of my most favorite features, is the OData connector. Because when, with Dynamics 365, one thing you can't connect directly to the database, or you can't go into SQL Management Manager and then go in and connect to the database, because we don't want you tinkering with it too much. But you've got other ways that you can access work with the data and change it. But sometimes you want to report off the data, or query it, or use it for other things. And there's a really simple way that you can do this. And the first thing is that all of the data within the system you can actually access through OData. You're not going to be pulling down like 1 trillion lines this way. But this is a good way to get analytics and reporting and some other information. Now, to show you how to do that, it's super complicated. All you do is put data at the end of the URL. Cut out all of the user interface components and then just say /data. What this is showing you is all of the data entities that you can report off. And at last count, I think there was like 1,800. So there are some which are missing, but they're adding more and more with each update. So for me, most of the things that I need to get to are here within the system. Now, also, if you want to query this, then you can just put the entity that you want to query into that URL. And that's really useful, I think. Not really very readable, but from a machine standpoint, this is really useful because this is showing me all of my customers. Now, also something else. If you want to, you can add a filter to this. So there's a specification for OData which allows you to go out and filter information. So you can say this. What I said is I want to get all of the trade customers, because I knew that customer group 120 are all of my trade customers. So I've filtered this information out. So this is a way to, even though you don't have direct access to the database, you've actually got a lot of control. You can go and query this, and you can filter it out. There's commands that you can use to just say, I want these fields, so that you don't pull back sort of too much information and sort of overload yourself. Now, so we've got this tool here for OData, but as you can see, it's not the friendliest thing for us to look at, unless some people like it, but not me. So what you can do is you can use this to do your own reporting. And you can do this I think you can do this in a whole slew of different reporting tools. I like Power BI. I'm biased. I may be paid to be biased as well, but so what we do is, if I just copy I'm just going to copy the first part of my URL. And then I'm going to open up Power BI. Now what I can do is I can say, I just want to get the data from the system. Now, the thing I like about Power BI, it has all of these different sort of ways that you can query the data, but there's an OData feed here. Now, how this works is I'm just going to give it the URL, the OData connection, and it's going to go out and discover all of the different things that I can report off. So all of the JSON script that's being created that you saw before is being simplified down so that we don't have to sort of decipher it. And then after it goes out and discovers all the entities, then I'm going to say, I want to find the customers, and there's an entity here for the customers. And I'm just going to load that. So I'm not using and also it looks like this isn't secure because I just sort of went straight through, but I've already authenticated and I'm using my credentials to pass through. So you can't access the information if you don't have the credentials to get into the system. And also, if you have security around the data, then you only get the data back that you're allowed to see. So if you're restricted to a certain company, then that's all you're going to see. Now, so this is going out, it's querying the information, and it's going to now show me all of the fields here for the customer. So say, for example, I want to search by city, and then I'll choose name. And I'll put the name and the size so that we can count the number of people. Now what it's doing is it's going out and taking the customer information that I had here and then starting to plot this out within the system. Now I'm going to change that. That was the delivery address. I'm going to change that to the normal address. And now it's going to start lighting up more and more areas as we've got more customers within the system. So say, for example, if you wanted to have sales information, this is a really easy way to do it. You just go and get the sales headers and the lines, and then you can have sales reports within just a couple of minutes. If you want to have a look at products, then you can easily just go and access the products. You can do purchase orders, you can do production, you can do a lot of the other things. So all you need to remember for the OData is that just add that /data at the end, and then you can access it. Now, so that's pretty neat. But how many people here are developers? How many people can develop but choose not to? Okay. I'm sort of in that class. So, but if I find something that is worth going back into Visual Studio again, then I jump in head first and do things. So what you've got with this OData is, again, another way that you can access information. And I'm warning people, I'm going to show Visual Studio, so you're going to see code, so don't freak out. But what I can do within Visual Studio is I can go and query this information, then I can use it. So I can query it, and in this case, I can pull down all my customer information, or I can go out and really do a lot of different things. And I'm using that first technique where I went out and used the OData query, but I filtered information out so I could pass information through so I could get pieces of information out, and then I use it within the system. Now this program, let me go here, let me see if, this program is a bot. So if anyone's sort of seen the bots are cool, bots are neat. Because you can automate things and you can have a conversational sort of interaction with them. But For me, this is what a bot looks like. It's code, but it's actually pretty straightforward. I saw, I think it was around about 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I was at a conference and saw a guy talking about bots, and I thought, I'm going to try that. And it took me a while to work it out, but now I've got it down pat. But what's important about these is that you can create a bot and then deploy it out to different areas for different people to consume. So I was in a Power Apps demo just on the previous session, and they were showing, going out and using Teams and also going and using VeriSign and Flow and some other things with the bots. So mine isn't quite that elaborate, but this is what I can do. So I'm here within Teams. You could put this into Facebook. You could put this into Messenger. You could use email and have a conversation, maybe not quite as immediate conversation with a bot over email. It'll actually send you information back. So it's sort of like play by mail for a bot. But I can go out and just say hi. You've got to be polite to a bot to wake them up. And then it's going to start asking me for information. Again, this conversation, you can be more clever, and you can use the Lewis interface to do language queries. But I'm going to look up a customer. So say, for example, I'm a customer service rep or I'm a salesperson, and I want to find out something about a certain customer. Then there's a number of different ways they can do it. They can call up customer service, they could get online on the system, they could look them up, or they could go onto their phone and use Skype or Teams and then just query it. So I'm going to choose, I'm looking for something to begin with Jab, and then I can find Jabba the Hutt. He's a customer of mine. But I've got all of the information associated with that here within the view. And then you can drill down further and you can have further interactions. So if I'm going out and looking at a customer, I could say, I've found the customer, then what do I want to see? Do I want to see all of the current invoices? Do I want to see what their credit limit is? If I'm looking at a product, what's the current price? How much do I have in stock? So that then you're sort of working through a different interface that's more conversational and also more mobile as well. And these are really easy to create and really easy to push out in the system. So I thought the bots were neat, and I personally am proud of my development skills in order to do that. Now, we've gone through and we've done we're sort of building up in the technical level along here. And now we're going to talk a little bit about integration. And the ways that you integrate with Dynamics 365 are a little bit different than you have done in the past. And I think they're a lot better. And the first example, and I've got three examples here, I think, of different ways that you can go out and integrate. But the first one is through the data integration. And this is the data integration framework is how we're integrating CRM and operations. And this is very new, and it's a thing that's only been out for a couple of months. But it's something really important because it gives us this one platform, or this one set of information with the information going backwards and forwards. But also it's really easy to use and really easy to set up. So, bless you. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you give you an overview of how this works, so that if, for example, you want to take advantage of it, then you can. Because a lot of people that I've seen yesterday and the day before, they're saying, well, we've got CRM, and we're thinking, are we going to go to Dynamics 365 for operations? And one of the attractive features about it is that we can have this one set of information really easily. Now, what you do within Power Apps is you go into the admin center, and there's a new, how many people use Power Apps? How many people like all the Power Apps things that they've seen this week? So Power Apps is my favorite product, although I love all of them, but it's my most favorite product. But what you do is you go out and you go into the data integration. Now, say, for example, I wanted to integrate CRM, all of my accounts between CRM and operations. Then all I do is I say, I want to create a new project. I just give it a name, but what we have down here is we've got all these templates. So one of the other questions is, well, do we have to go out and build all this integration? You don't. It's all done for you, but you can extend it out afterwards. So I'm going to do that and say I want to create my integration. Then also what you do is you create choose a connection set. That is what version of operations are you connecting to and what version of sales. If you've got multiple CRM systems, then you could have them all pushing through to different companies within operations. But I can choose this and it's going to show me some information. Did I choose that? And now what it's going to say is what organizations do I want to choose, and I'm just going to go forward. So now what I've got is I've got an integration service that will move the information from CRM over to operations. And all of the mappings are included inside of that project. So now I've got sort of these two stages. I move the information to the common data service and then down to operations. But here are all of my CRM fields and then the common data service fields. Some of these I've got JSON functions that can transform the information. And then over here, I've also got all the transformation over to operations. And then some of these have functions as well that we can manage as well. This is what the integration is. You don't have to do a lot of work to get this up and running. All you say is where's CRM, where's operations, and what you want to pull over. So this portion of integration is very cool. And also, there's more and more of these templates that are being delivered out so that we can link out to between other areas of the system through this tool. So the data integration framework or the data integration sort of tools which are part of Power Apps. If you have these multiple systems, then take a look at it because you can get this information synchronized. You could have all the orders from operations showing up within CRM so that then they could be shown within the customer service portal within CRM and not have to do all this work yourself. Now, but the second piece of integration which is really useful is the data management tools. How many people have used the data management tools? So, not a lot, but it's one of the most powerful areas of the system that we can take advantage of. So within, sorry. So when we go into Dynamics, then there's a data management workspace. Now, there's a lot of things you can do in here. So you can import data and you can export data. And also, if you go into Lifecycle Services, there are standard templates to load the entire company. So if you have a blank organization, then you can go to Lifecycle Services that will give you all the Excel templates. All you have to do is fill in the information, enter in all of your customer groups, and then just pipe all of that information through. And it will hydrate a company for you. Say, for example, if I just wanted to export out all of my customers, then I could say that I want to have this as an Excel spreadsheet. I want to look up my entities and find my customers. And then what I do is I create a package that I can use. Once you've created a package, then you can convert this over to a recurring job or a batch job, but I'll show that in just a second. So what this has is this now has a map of all the information moving from the main table over to staging, and you can go and tweak this and change it. So it's sort of like a mini BizTalk, but not really a full BizTalk. So I'm just going to export this out to show you what we end up with in the system. So if I refresh this, should run in a second. Then 173, I think, customers have now been exported. And if I look at what this creates, then this will create a zip file that has all of the, that has an Excel spreadsheet in it, that has all of my customer records, so everything from my customers. Now, I use this because what I do is I export it out, it gives me a template, and then I can delete all the information and then add in all of my new records that I want to create. And then you take that zip file and you import it in. You don't have to do any specifications because all of it's been defined in it. And it's an easy way to grab in information. I've pulled in, I think, 180,000 Lego pieces. I wouldn't recommend you do that, but it was an interesting exercise. And all just through this by going out and using the export. Now, if you create a project, then there's one clever thing that you can do. I can go out and say that I want to create a recurring job. This creates a batch job. This is an import file. Then what this does is this is just waiting for information to come in. And it has this ID here, which is really important because what you can now do is you can go out and use Flow. So Flow is my most favorite app in the system. All of them I love, but this one I love the most. And what this does, I'm glad everyone likes my humor. So it took a while for you to warm up after I took 3 times. So what this flow does is this actually, I think I was clever with this. What it does is it runs every minute, or actually every month, because I want to just force this off. And then you can tell the system to go into OneDrive and find a file, and then this is the secret sauce. Flow allows you to make an HTTP post. So what we've got is we just have this website that we can connect to, and we pass all this information through, and then it updates it. So if I go over to, let me go over to here, and then open up OneDrive, then I think I've got enough time just to show this. Then I've got this import file, and I've got a file here. Now if I edit this, then this is an XML file, and what I could do is I could say this is 150, this could be military customers. So imagine if you've got a third-party system that's sending you through files, or sending through simple EDI files, or doing anything within the system, and putting it somewhere on a secure FTP site, on a shared site, on OneDrive, on Dropbox, or anything like that, then this allows you to go out and grab that. And then all I can do here is I'm going to force this to run. So it's going out and it's looking for the file, and it ran for 5 seconds. It went through it, found the file, it pushed it through, and then submitted it to operations. Now, what's going to happen is this file is running, the batch file here is running every minute. So here if I go to my customer groups, now, how many people using Dynamics also use the search feature? If you don't learn it, it's a lifesaver, because as you can see, I was scanning through all the different menu items and thinking, there's no way I'm going to find it. So it's now going and running in the background, and here's my new customer group that I just added. So that by itself is pretty neat because it's a really easy way to automate. Now, I've got one more example. I think I'm doing really well on time management. And that is, come on, hurry up. And again, I'll use flow for operations to do something slightly different. Now, flow allows you, there's a connector for operations within flow, which is a Dynamics 365 for operations component. Now, this, so this is just one of the standard connectors or the standard interfaces, which is nice. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to update any record within Dynamics. And in this case, I'm going out and I've got vendors here. And then I'm passing through, I'm passing through a vendor group and a company and a vendor account. Now, this, if you haven't used Flow, then Flow's really, really neat because you have all of the fields that are part of the entities that are available to you. So you can fill in, you can pretty much set up a vendor, a customer, a product, anything that you want through this Flow interface. And for this, what I'm doing is using an example that a lot of people have been using. And let me find this here. And using SharePoint as a repository. Because what you can do within SharePoint is it's an easy way to create lists and other information. So what I did is I said, I want to create a vendor onboarding form. And I've got just a list page here that has the vendor name and the number and the vendor group. And if I say I want to create a new group here, right, and in the 2 seconds that I was looking at it, I forgot. Okay, 6. And then I'll just make this 150 and save it. So this is going out, and the flow in the background is now going out and running through this. It's running now. Whoops. No. It failed. Oops. So it went out and it found that the record got created, and then it should have gone out, and for some reason, one of my fields are incorrect, but it should have gone out and created the record within Dynamics through that connector. So you can automate these. You could use this for having someone create requisitions or quick sales orders or anything that you like within the system in SharePoint. Even create a Power App on top of that that would present it in different ways and then have all this information feeding through into Dynamics through that connector. So another integration, but it's a different way of thinking about integration. The reason why I sort of ended with these 3 examples is the way that we work with the system with Dynamics 365 is a little bit different, and now things like integrations, they're not necessarily something that IT have to do, because you can go out and use these tools to create automations within the system, but still be controlled and still have everything running sort of in the background. So, I plan to finish at 10:50, and I'm close to that. Yep, I've got 6 minutes left for a question and answer. So I'm sort of wrapping up. I hope some of these things are new things and sort of pique your interest into what you can do and some of the new things that are available within Dynamics 365. So does anyone have any questions? And if you do have a question, and if you can go up to the mic, then that helps me so that I don't have to repeat it.
Murray, how much of this is available on-prem?
Next question. Yeah. We'll edit that question out. No soup for you. Okay. And no on-prem questions.
Flow is phenomenal. Really great.
My most favorite product.
I know it's your favorite, but is it replacing workflow inside of the application? Because it seems to me like it could, to a degree.
Yeah, it could eventually. And I don't know whether the product development group are sort of thinking of extending out and leveraging Flow, because Flow, the workflow itself is really good within Dynamics because it does what it does and it controls everything and then has all the business processes managed within it. But with Flow, what we can do is we can do more. We can go out to other systems. We can create emails. We can create tweets. We can create messages. We can create alerts and all of these other things, or stream information. So Flow in itself is a lot more powerful. But right now, there needs to be a way to trigger a flow from Dynamics, which there isn't. So if that's in the works, then that'd be great, because I could see that I'd actually convert over to Flow to give me a lot more capabilities within the system.
Okay, I saw some approval flows. I'm sorry.
You saw some approval flows?
Yeah, relating to things like an AP invoice in Dynamics 365. So it kind of gives the impression that you could create an approval flow.
Yeah, and the follow-up was that you can sort of create an approval flow within Flow, and you could. And once you've triggered the flow from something, then you can always push the information back because you've got that connector within the system. So, yeah, and the answer is you can, because you can also go to Active Directory. There's so many things that are out there, and all the logic that's around it. Flow's really powerful, and it really is one of my most favorite products. Okay, any more questions? Okay, one more question.
You talked about Power Apps connecting to like CRM. Can you connect to things like Salesforce? Do they have templates out there for that?
Yes, there are. But we'll probably edit this part out. But the fact of the matter is Salesforce is out there, and there's a lot of other applications out there as well. So Power Apps and Flow have those connectors. There's a native connector to Salesforce. So say, for example, you're one of the misled people and you had Salesforce. Then you could still do the integration and have all that information going down to operations by using Flow, because it has a connector that will watch for information and then push it down. Or you could push information back up to it as well. So it's there, and again, I think it's one of the strengths of the Power Apps and also Flow, that you can connect to all of these other disparate systems. Okay. Guys, yes. So the question is project server still required? And I had this conversation yesterday, and I don't think so, because I haven't seen the project server integration in Dynamics 365, or that link that was in 2012. And because also I had a discussion with someone saying, what is there overlap, and why would you need it? Because you use project server for your portfolio management, things like that. But if you truly use projects within operations, then that can replace that, and you can get all the reporting out as well. And then if you use the project client to create the projects, then sort of all that user interface sort of capability is in there as well. So I'm not a project manager, and I don't use project server, but I don't know whether you'd necessarily need to have that, although there's capabilities in there which for the portfolio management and the project management, that would probably be useful.
What's the
Was it required? There was integration, so yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Oh.
Is there a collection of this URL hacking things?
Just do what I did and just do a search. Because I think it's Frederick Satter's blog post that I plagiarized the hacks from. He's got a really good list of all of them. So just look for Dynamics 365 URL qualifiers, and you'll see all of them. There's a couple of really good posts out there for that. Okay. And if there are no questions, then I'll let you all out of class 38 seconds early.